Imagine this for a moment. You walk into a room full of influential people, or perhaps you're standing at the podium ready to speak your truth. But instead of feeling fear or doubt, you stand tall, confident, and your words flow effortlessly. What if I told you that this kind of communication isn't reserved for the elite or the naturally gifted? It's a skill that you can master starting today. Great communication is the bridge between where you are now and where you truly want to be. Think about it. How many doors have remained closed because you lacked the right words to open them? How many dreams have been deferred because you couldn't communicate your ideas clearly? It's time to change that. The ability to communicate effectively will change your life not just in business, but in every interaction you have. Today, I'm going to share 10 powerful tips that will help you unlock your full potential as a communicator and open the doors to greater opportunities, deeper connections, and lasting success. But there's one catch: you need to commit to watching until the end, because the last tip will not only revolutionize your communication, but will elevate the way you see yourself in the world. Clarity is the cornerstone of effective communication. Without it, your message is like a ship without a rudder, drifting aimlessly. Think about a time when you were in a conversation, but the speaker was unclear, rambling, or using complex jargon. What was your reaction? Perhaps you tuned out, or worse, you walked away without having grasped anything substantial. In those moments, the speaker may have had valuable information to share, but the lack of clarity meant that their message was lost. Now picture the opposite. Imagine you're in a business meeting where one person speaks with precision and purpose. They break down complex ideas into simple, digestible concepts. As they speak, every word adds value, and there's no room for ambiguity. You find yourself nodding along, fully engaged, grasping the depth of their ideas without effort. That's the power of clarity in action. To achieve clarity, you must first understand your message fully. You need to know exactly what you want to convey and why it matters. A person who lacks clarity in their communication is often unsure of their own thoughts, and that uncertainty is transmitted to their audience. Take, for example, a leader trying to inspire their team. If the leader is unclear about the vision, the team's direction becomes murky. The message gets lost in a fog of confusion, and as a result, the team might feel uninspired or unmotivated. However, a clear leader articulates the vision with confidence, breaking down each step with simplicity and urgency. The team can see the path ahead and understand their role in the journey. Clarity also means removing distractions. When you speak, every word should serve a purpose. Too often, we overcomplicate our message by adding unnecessary details or using filler words like or you know. These distractions weaken our message and make it harder for the listener to focus on what's truly important. Think of a speaker who sticks to the point, omitting anything extraneous. Their words are sharp and direct, drawing the listener's attention to what matters most. This focus not only holds the listener's attention, but also demonstrates the speaker's confidence in their subject matter. A great example of clarity in action can be seen in the field of sales. Imagine you're selling a product. If you over-explain its features, the potential buyer might become overwhelmed or confused. On the other hand, if you present the product in a simple, straightforward manner, focusing on how it solves a problem for the buyer, the value becomes immediately clear. The buyer can see exactly why they need the product, and they can make a decision quickly. The more clearly you present your value, the more likely you are to influence the outcome. But clarity isn't just about simplicity. It's about purpose. Each word, each sentence should serve to drive your message forward, leaving no room for doubt. In meetings or speeches, people often fail to make an impact because they get lost in their own explanations. They might assume that their audience knows what they mean, but the reality is that assumptions are the enemy of clarity. For instance, consider a manager giving instructions to their team. If they assume everyone understands a particular term or concept without defining it, confusion will arise. The key to clear communication is ensuring that everyone is on the same page from the outset. True clarity comes from structure and focus. You don't need to speak for hours to get your point across. In fact, some of the most powerful messages are the shortest and most direct. Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address is a perfect example of this. Delivered in just a few minutes, it became one of the most memorable speeches in American history, not because of its length, but because of its clarity and focus. Every word was intentional, every sentence carefully crafted to convey a powerful idea in a straightforward way. In your everyday conversations, adopting clarity can make a profound difference in how you're perceived. Whether you're presenting an idea to your team, explaining something to a friend, or negotiating with a colleague, clear communication helps build trust and credibility. When people understand you, they are more likely to follow your lead and support your initiatives. Clarity cuts through the noise and positions you as a leader who can be relied upon for direction and purpose. Active listening is not merely about hearing words. It is about deeply understanding and engaging with the person speaking. It requires focus, empathy, and a genuine desire to connect with others. In today's world, where distractions are everywhere, smartphones, emails, and constant notifications, active listening is becoming a lost art. People often think they're listening when, in reality, they're simply waiting for their turn to speak. To master communication, however, you must first master the skill of truly listening, for only when you listen actively can you respond meaningfully. Think about a time when someone was speaking to you, but your mind was elsewhere. Perhaps you were thinking about what you would say next, or maybe you were distracted by the environment around you. How much of what they said did you truly absorb? How well did you understand their perspective? Likely you missed important details and failed to connect with the speaker on a deeper level. Now contrast that with a time when you were fully present, listening attentively, and reflecting on what the other person was saying. In that moment, you were not just hearing their words, you were understanding their feelings, their concerns, and their motivations. That is the power of active listening, and it is what makes communication effective. Active listening begins with presence. To truly listen, you must clear your mind of distractions and focus entirely on the person speaking. This means putting away your phone, making eye contact, and giving the speaker your undivided attention. Many times, people are so caught up in their own thoughts and agendas that they fail to be present with the other person. This lack of focus leads to misunderstandings, missed opportunities, and weak connections. When you are fully present, however, you show the speaker that they matter, that their words are worth your time and attention. This level of engagement builds trust, which is the foundation of all meaningful communication. One key component of active listening is reflection. This means that you don't simply passively absorb the words, but you reflect on their meaning and intention. For example, if a colleague is explaining a complex problem to you, don't just nod and say, "I understand." Instead, take a moment to reflect back what you've heard. You could say, "So what I'm hearing is that the team is facing challenges with the new software, and you feel that there isn't enough training provided. Is that correct?" This simple reflection confirms to the speaker that you are truly listening and that you understand their concerns. It also gives them an opportunity to clarify if you've misunderstood anything. This back and forth exchange deepens the conversation and allows both parties to gain a clearer understanding. Active listening also involves nonverbal cues. Your body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice all play a critical role in demonstrating that you're engaged in the conversation. Imagine you're speaking to someone who is looking at their phone, tapping their foot, or checking the clock. Even if they are saying all the right words, their body language tells you they are not fully invested in the conversation. On the other hand, if someone maintains eye contact, nods along, and leans slightly forward, you can feel their attention and interest. These subtle cues communicate that you are valued and heard, which fosters a deeper connection and encourages openness. Consider the context of a leadership role. A leader who listens actively is one who inspires loyalty and respect from their team. When a team member approaches with a concern, a leader who practices active listening won't just brush it off or offer a quick solution. Instead, they will engage with the speaker, ask thoughtful questions, and show empathy. For example, if an employee expresses frustration over a project's progress, the leader could say, "I understand that the timelines are tight, and it's putting a lot of pressure on you. Let's talk about what resources you need to get things back on track." This response not only demonstrates understanding, but also opens up a dialogue for problem solving, showing that the leader values the input and concerns of their team. Active listening also requires patience. Often people rush to respond before the other person has finished speaking, eager to share their own thoughts or opinions. But this impulsive behavior often results in missing crucial information. When you listen actively, you allow the speaker to finish their thought completely before jumping in with your response. This practice not only ensures that you have all the information needed, but also shows respect for the other person's point of view. For instance, in a negotiation, if both parties are constantly cutting each other off, the discussion becomes fragmented and solutions remain elusive. But if both parties take the time to listen to each other fully, they can better understand each other's needs and find common ground. Furthermore, active listening helps you manage emotions. In heated conversations or debates, it's easy to become defensive or overwhelmed by strong emotions. However, when you practice active listening, you can separate your emotions from the discussion. By staying calm, you allow yourself to process the information without reacting impulsively. This is especially important in high-stakes situations, such as during a conflict with a colleague or in negotiations with a client. Active listening gives you the space to absorb what's being said, assess the situation, and respond thoughtfully, rather than letting your emotions dictate your actions. To truly master active listening, it is vital to make it a habit. It requires conscious effort, self-discipline, and a commitment to putting others first. Over time, as you continue to listen actively, you will find that your relationships deepen, your influence grows, and your communication skills become sharper. You'll begin to notice that people open up to you more, share more information, and engage more freely in conversations. The reason for this is simple. When people feel heard, they feel valued, and they are more likely to respond with openness and trust. Active listening is a skill that can be developed just like any other skill. It requires practice, but the rewards are immeasurable. The more you listen with intention, the more powerful your communication becomes. As you master this art, you will not only become a better communicator, but you will also cultivate stronger, more meaningful connections with everyone you encounter. Body language is a powerful form of communication that speaks volumes without uttering a single word. It is often said that actions speak louder than words, and when it comes to communication, your body language communicates the emotions, thoughts, and intentions behind your spoken words. Whether you realize it or not, every gesture, posture, and facial expression sends a message to those around you. The challenge lies in ensuring that your body language aligns with the message you are trying to convey, as misalignment can create confusion, mistrust, or misunderstanding. One of the most significant aspects of body language is posture. Your posture can immediately reveal your level of confidence, authority, and openness. A person who stands tall, shoulders back, and head held high exudes self-assurance and control. This confident posture not only communicates strength, but also commands respect from others. For example, a leader who enters a room with a confident, upright posture sends an unspoken message to the team that they are in charge, capable, and ready to take on any challenge. On the other hand, slumped shoulders or a hunched back often signal insecurity, lack of confidence, or even disinterest. When you slouch or shrink into yourself, your body communicates that you lack belief in your own words, and this can undermine your effectiveness in communication. However, posture alone isn't enough to tell the full story. Eye contact is another essential element of body language that significantly impacts how your message is received. Eye contact is often referred to as the window to the soul, and it plays a crucial role in building trust and establishing a connection with your audience. When you maintain appropriate eye contact, it conveys sincerity, attentiveness, and engagement. Imagine you are speaking to someone and they avoid looking at you or keep their gaze fixed on the ground or elsewhere. This avoidance of eye contact can make you feel dismissed or unimportant, which can create a barrier to effective communication. Conversely, when you lock eyes with the person you're speaking to, they feel acknowledged, respected, and heard. This connection fosters trust and a sense of rapport, making it much easier to build a productive relationship, whether in personal conversations or business interactions. Yet, eye contact is not just about staring at someone in a fixed, unblinking way. It's about balance and timing. Too much eye contact can feel intimidating or uncomfortable, while too little can seem evasive or detached. In any conversation, the key is to strike a balance, make eye contact often, but allow moments of natural breaks in your gaze. This approach keeps the interaction comfortable and genuine, signaling that you are both engaged and approachable. Another aspect of body language that often goes unnoticed is facial expressions. Your face is a reflection of your emotional state, and it communicates your feelings more clearly than words ever could. A smile, for example, can convey warmth, openness, and friendliness, while a frown or scowl can signal displeasure, frustration, or anger. In conversations, facial expressions are crucial because they help the listener understand your emotional tone and intent. For instance, if you're discussing a challenging topic, but your face is relaxed or smiling, the listener might perceive your words as less serious or dismissive. On the other hand, if you maintain a concerned or empathetic expression, it signals to the listener that you acknowledge the gravity of the situation and that you genuinely care about the outcome. Consider the scenario of delivering bad news. If you were to tell someone a difficult truth, such as a colleague losing their job, and your facial expression remained neutral or detached, it could create a sense of coldness or indifference. However, if your face reflects empathy, perhaps with a slight frown or a solemn expression, it shows that you understand the emotional weight of the situation and that you are compassionate. This simple shift in facial expression can go a long way in establishing trust and connection, even in the most difficult conversations. Gestures are another crucial part of body language that can either support or detract from your communication. Gestures help to emphasize points, reinforce your message, and make your words come alive. A well-timed gesture can help the listener visualize your message and create a sense of dynamism in your communication. For example, when explaining a concept, you might use your hands to illustrate the idea or emphasize key points. These gestures make your speech more engaging and allow the listener to connect with your words on a deeper level. A speaker who stands still, speaking with little movement, may come across as stiff, disengaged, or even disinterested. On the contrary, a speaker who uses expressive hand movements or gestures that align with their words is seen as more energetic, passionate, and approachable. However, gestures must be used wisely. Too many exaggerated or rapid gestures can overwhelm the listener or create the impression of nervousness or instability. A common example of this is when a person excessively fidgets with their hands or constantly gestures in an erratic manner. This can distract from the message, making it hard for the audience to focus on the content of the conversation. The key to effective gestures is to use them sparingly and purposefully. Each gesture should reinforce the message rather than detract from it. Space and proximity are additional elements of body language that convey important messages about the nature of your relationship with others. The physical distance you maintain in a conversation speaks to the level of intimacy or formality in that relationship. Standing too close to someone can make them feel uncomfortable or threatened, while standing too far away might signal detachment or a lack of interest. Cultural norms also play a significant role in how personal space is perceived. For example, in some cultures, close proximity during a conversation is a sign of warmth and connection, while in others, maintaining distance is considered a sign of respect. Understanding these nuances and adjusting your proximity accordingly can help you build stronger, more positive connections with those you interact with. In professional settings, space can also be used to project authority. A person who stands tall, takes up more space in the room, and uses open gestures often exudes a sense of confidence and control. A CEO might adopt this stance in a meeting, using their posture and space to command respect and attention. Conversely, someone who hunches in their chair, keeps their arms crossed, or stays hunched over in a meeting may unintentionally project insecurity or a lack of confidence, even if their words are assertive. In high-stakes situations such as interviews or negotiations, mirroring body language is another powerful tool. When you subtly mimic the gestures, posture, or movements of the other person, it creates a sense of rapport and alignment. This technique, known as mirroring, signals to the other person that you are on the same wavelength and that you understand them. For example, if you're in a meeting and the person you're speaking with leans forward slightly, you might do the same to show engagement. If they cross their arms, you may gently mirror that action as it can signal a moment of contemplation or discomfort. The key here is subtlety. Too much mirroring can come across as forced or unnatural, but when done correctly, it fosters a sense of mutual understanding and connection. In every conversation, your body language is working to either reinforce or contradict your words. The more conscious you become of these nonverbal signals, the more control you will have over how others perceive you. By aligning your body language with your spoken message, you create a communication style that is not only more powerful, but also more authentic. When your body speaks in harmony with your words, you establish trust, respect, and credibility, all of which are essential for success in any area of life. Fear and doubt are two of the greatest obstacles that stand between you and your potential. These invisible forces, though intangible, can cripple your progress, hold you back from seizing opportunities, and prevent you from achieving your true potential. Fear arises from the unknown, from the anticipation of failure, and from the imagined consequences of taking risks. Doubt creeps in when you question your own abilities, when you lack confidence in your decisions, or when the weight of uncertainty clouds your judgment. Both fear and doubt work in tandem to diminish your self-worth and hinder your success. However, the most empowering realization is that you hold the key to eliminating these mental barriers and stepping into your greatness. The first step in eliminating fear and doubt is recognizing their presence. Fear often masquerades as an emotion tied to external circumstances. I'm afraid of failing. I'm afraid of what others will think of me. I'm afraid of rejection. These fears are rooted in what might happen in the future scenarios that haven't even occurred yet. Fear thrives in uncertainty, and the more you allow yourself to dwell on the what-ifs, the more power you give it. Doubt, on the other hand, is an internal battle. It often sounds like a quiet voice in your head saying, "You're not good enough, you don't deserve success," or "What if this doesn't work out?" The doubt you carry is often more paralyzing than the fear you face because it directly undermines your belief in your abilities. To combat fear and doubt, you must first challenge their validity. It's essential to recognize that fear is a natural human emotion, but it's also an illusion. Think about how many times in your life you feared something, whether it was speaking in front of a crowd, starting a new job, or embarking on a new project, and how those fears often dissipated once you faced them head on. For instance, consider the moment before giving a public speech. The fear of speaking in front of an audience can be overwhelming, and doubt may start to creep in. What if I forget my lines? What if I make a fool of myself? But the reality is that once you begin speaking, those fears begin to fade away. Your heart rate slows, your thoughts become clearer, and your confidence grows. Fear often remains powerful because you allow it to build up in your mind, but once you take action, it begins to lose its grip on you. One powerful method for overcoming fear and doubt is visualization. The mind cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and reality, so when you visualize success, you are programming your mind to expect positive outcomes. For example, before stepping into a high-pressure situation, such as a job interview or an important business presentation, take a few moments to close your eyes and vividly imagine yourself succeeding. Picture yourself speaking clearly and confidently. Imagine the audience reacting positively and feel the sense of accomplishment once it's all over. This technique helps train your brain to focus on the desired outcome rather than the potential failure, and it diminishes the anxiety that comes with uncertainty. The more you practice visualization, the more it becomes second nature to imagine success rather than fear. In addition to visualization, positive affirmations are another powerful tool to eliminate doubt. Our internal dialogue has a profound impact on our self-esteem and confidence. If your thoughts are filled with "I can't," "I'm not good enough," or "this is too hard," it's no wonder that doubt takes root. To reverse this, you must consciously replace these negative thoughts with positive affirmations. Start each day by affirming your worth and abilities. I am capable of overcoming challenges. I am confident and prepared for success, or I have the skills and talents to achieve my goals. These affirmations, when repeated daily, create new neural pathways in your brain, which help shift your mindset from one of doubt to one of certainty and empowerment. One person who mastered the art of overcoming fear and doubt was Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb. Edison faced countless failures and setbacks throughout his career, yet he never allowed fear or doubt to stop him. When he was working on the invention of the light bulb, he conducted thousands of experiments that ended in failure. When asked how he felt about all the failed attempts, he famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Edison's persistence in the face of repeated failure demonstrates a mindset that refused to be crippled by doubt or fear. Each setback was seen as a lesson, and each failure brought him one step closer to success. Edison's mindset is a perfect example of how you can shift your perspective to view obstacles not as insurmountable challenges, but as opportunities for growth and learning. Another way to eliminate fear and doubt is by taking small, consistent actions toward your goals. Often, fear and doubt are rooted in the overwhelming nature of a large task or objective. When you look at the bigger picture, the challenge seems insurmountable. How can I possibly accomplish all of this? But when you break it down into smaller, manageable steps, you begin to eliminate the fear associated with the task. For instance, if you are afraid of speaking in public, instead of focusing on the entire speech, focus on one aspect of it. Perhaps you begin by preparing just the introduction. Once you've mastered that, move on to the next section. Gradually, as you build confidence in small areas, the larger task becomes less daunting. By taking consistent, incremental actions, you gradually build momentum and eliminate the paralyzing fear that often accompanies large undertakings. Surrounding yourself with positive influences is another crucial factor in eliminating fear and doubt. The people you spend time with have a profound impact on your mindset. If you surround yourself with individuals who are constantly negative, who undermine your efforts, or who doubt your potential, their energy will inevitably influence your own thinking. On the other hand, when you surround yourself with people who believe in you, who encourage your growth, and who lift you up, their positivity becomes a catalyst for your own self-confidence. Consider the example of athletes training for a competition. They often surround themselves with coaches, mentors, and teammates who provide constant support and belief in their abilities. This positive environment helps them overcome their own self-doubt and push through fear. Finally, to eliminate fear and doubt, you must embrace failure as a stepping stone to success. Too often, fear stems from the anticipation of failure, and doubt arises when we question our ability to handle failure. But failure is not the end, it is part of the process. Every successful person has failed at some point, but they viewed failure as feedback, not as a final verdict on their worth or capabilities. Walt Disney, for instance, faced multiple setbacks before creating the Disney empire. He was rejected by several banks when seeking funding for Disneyland, and he even had a business partner tell him that his ideas were too far-fetched. Yet Disney persisted, learning from each rejection, refining his vision, and eventually achieving immense success. Instead of allowing fear or doubt to stop him, he allowed failure to teach him, grow him, and ultimately push him closer to his dreams. In the same way, you must view fear and doubt as temporary hurdles, not permanent barriers. They are natural, but they do not define you. By acknowledging their presence, challenging their validity, and taking focused action, you can eliminate these obstacles and unlock your full potential. Being persuasive with precision is an art that involves more than just convincing others to adopt your viewpoint or follow your lead. It requires the ability to communicate with clarity, focus, and a compelling sense of authority while maintaining accuracy in the information you provide. Persuasion is not about manipulation or coercion. Rather, it is about influencing others in a way that resonates with their emotions and logic. When precision is added to persuasion, your message becomes more impactful and your ability to influence increases dramatically. This combination of clarity and focus, backed by well-founded reasoning, creates a persuasive force that is difficult to ignore. The foundation of being persuasive with precision lies in the clarity of your message. If your message is muddled or vague, your audience will struggle to understand your point, and your ability to persuade them will be severely diminished. For instance, imagine you are trying to convince a group of potential investors to fund a new startup. If your pitch is filled with jargon or is difficult to follow, you will lose their attention quickly. However, if you present your ideas clearly and logically, they will be much more likely to engage with you. You must ensure that every point you make is well structured and easy to comprehend. Clear language is essential to ensure your audience grasps not only what you are saying, but also why it matters. A key component of clarity and persuasion is knowing your audience. Understanding the concerns, interests, and values of the people you are speaking to allows you to tailor your message with precision. For example, if you are trying to persuade a team of engineers to adopt a new process, you might focus on the technical benefits and efficiencies the change would bring. On the other hand, if you are speaking to a group of marketers, you might emphasize how the new process could improve customer satisfaction or brand perception. By aligning your message with the priorities of your audience, you demonstrate that you understand their needs and are presenting a solution that addresses those needs directly. Another aspect of precision in persuasion is the use of facts and evidence. It is not enough to simply make claims or present opinions. Your arguments must be grounded in solid evidence. When people are presented with factual information, they are more likely to trust the speaker and believe in the validity of their message. For example, consider a political candidate attempting to persuade voters. If the candidate makes promises without backing them up with data or real-world examples, voters are unlikely to be swayed. However, if the candidate can present clear, concrete evidence such as statistics, research findings, or case studies that supports their promises, the message becomes more convincing. Precision in persuasion means providing just enough information backed by reliable data to support your argument while avoiding overwhelming the listener with unnecessary details. Equally important is the structure of your argument. In order to persuade with precision, you must present your ideas in a well-organized, logical manner. This structure serves as a roadmap that guides your audience through the points you are making. Start by clearly stating your main point or thesis. This is the foundation of your argument. Then present your supporting evidence in a logical sequence, connecting each piece to the next in a way that builds your case. Finally, conclude with a strong, concise summary that reinforces your main point and leaves a lasting impression. The power of a well-structured argument is that it makes it easy for your audience to follow and understand your message, which increases the likelihood of persuasion. For instance, if you are writing a persuasive essay, you might begin with an introduction that states your thesis, followed by several body paragraphs that present your supporting evidence, and finally, a conclusion that restates your thesis and summarizes the key points. Emotional appeal is another critical element of precision in persuasion. While facts and evidence are important, persuasion often involves appealing to the emotions of your audience. People make decisions not just based on logic, but also on how they feel about a particular issue or idea. A well-crafted emotional appeal can make your message resonate on a deeper level, fostering a stronger connection between you and your audience. For instance, if you are trying to persuade a group to support a charitable cause, you might share a powerful personal story that evokes empathy and compassion. This emotional connection can spur action and compel your audience to take the desired step. However, emotional appeals should be used with caution and balance. While they can enhance your persuasion, they should not overshadow the logical elements of your argument. Precision in emotional appeal means knowing when and how to invoke emotions that complement and reinforce the factual side of your argument. One example of persuasion with precision in action is in the world of advertising. Consider how a company like Apple markets its products. Apple's ads are a masterclass in persuasive communication because they don't simply tell you what the product is, they show you why it matters. Instead of overwhelming consumers with technical specifications, Apple focuses on the user experience, showing how their products enhance creativity, productivity, and personal well-being. The precision of this messaging is evident in how Apple uses simple, clear language, focuses on emotions, and delivers a compelling narrative. When you see an Apple ad, it's not just about the product, it's about what the product enables you to do. This precision in messaging cuts through the noise and appeals directly to the aspirations of the consumer. Another example can be seen in the world of negotiation. If you are negotiating a deal, your ability to persuade with precision can make or break the outcome. A skilled negotiator doesn't simply throw out demands or make empty promises. They use precise language to make their case. They might present data showing why their proposal is beneficial to both parties or highlight past examples of similar successes. By being clear, concise, and factual, they eliminate ambiguity and build trust with the other party. Moreover, they anticipate objections and respond with well-crafted counterpoints that address those concerns directly. This level of precision helps to ensure that the negotiation stays on track and that both sides feel heard and respected, increasing the chances of reaching a mutually beneficial agreement. When it comes to persuasion, credibility plays a significant role in precision. People are more likely to be persuaded by someone they trust, and building that trust requires consistency, integrity, and expertise. If you are trying to persuade someone to make an important decision, such as investing in a business venture or changing a long-held belief, your credibility is paramount. You must be seen as a reliable, knowledgeable, and trustworthy source. Precision in your message means not only presenting the facts, but also demonstrating your expertise and honesty in how you present those facts. If you are a financial advisor trying to convince a client to make a particular investment, your precision lies in your ability to present not only the potential benefits, but also the risks, showing that you have thoroughly researched and considered all aspects of the decision. Finally, precision in persuasion requires active listening. When you are engaging with someone in a persuasive conversation, it is not enough to simply deliver your message. You must also listen carefully to their responses. Active listening allows you to tailor your message in real time, adjusting your argument based on the feedback you receive. If you are trying to persuade a colleague to adopt a new project proposal, for instance, paying attention to their concerns and objections will allow you to address them more effectively. By listening, you demonstrate respect for the other person's perspective, which strengthens your ability to persuade them. In conclusion, being persuasive with precision is not about using forceful language or tactics. It is about communicating your message in a clear, logical, and emotionally resonant way, backed by facts and evidence. It requires understanding your audience, presenting your arguments effectively, and maintaining credibility throughout the process. When done correctly, precision in persuasion doesn't just convince others, it moves them to action, creating lasting impact and influence. Building strong relationships is at the core of both personal and professional success, and communication is the essential tool through which these relationships are forged and nurtured. Effective communication is not just about exchanging words, it is about connecting on a deeper level, understanding others' perspectives, and fostering trust. Relationships built on solid communication thrive because both parties feel understood, valued, and respected. Whether it's a friendship, family bond, or business partnership, the strength of the relationship often hinges on the quality of communication. At the heart of building relationships through communication is the practice of active listening. Far too often, people mistake hearing someone for truly listening. Listening is not a passive activity. It requires focus, patience, and an open mind. When you listen actively, you engage with the other person's words and emotions, acknowledging their thoughts, concerns, and ideas. Active listening involves maintaining eye contact, nodding and understanding, and responding appropriately. It means refraining from interrupting and giving the speaker space to fully express themselves. For instance, imagine you are having a conversation with a close friend who is sharing a challenging experience at work. If you are only half listening, distracted by your phone, or formulating your own response before they finish speaking, your friend will likely feel unheard or dismissed. On the other hand, when you listen actively, you show empathy and understanding, which creates a strong emotional bond. Active listening fosters trust as it signals to the other person that their feelings and thoughts matter to you. Over time, this builds a relationship grounded in mutual respect and emotional intimacy. Another crucial component of building relationships is empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. Empathy takes active listening one step further, allowing you to not only hear what someone is saying, but also feel what they are feeling. Empathetic communication helps people feel seen and understood on a deeper level. When you communicate with empathy, you acknowledge the emotional state of the other person, which creates a sense of connection and validation. Consider the example of a manager addressing an employee who has been struggling with personal issues that are affecting their performance. Instead of simply providing criticism or focusing solely on the work-related issues, an empathetic manager would approach the conversation with understanding and concern for the employee's well-being. They might say something like, "I can see you've been under a lot of stress lately. How can I support you during this time?" By expressing empathy, the manager demonstrates care for the employee's emotional state, which helps foster a sense of loyalty and trust. When people feel that you genuinely care about their emotions and not just their actions, they are more likely to build a long-lasting and positive relationship with you. Another essential aspect of building relationships through communication is the ability to express yourself clearly and authentically. Honest communication fosters a sense of trust, which is fundamental to any relationship. When you speak openly and authentically, you show vulnerability, which in turn invites others to do the same. People are more likely to engage with you when they feel that they can trust you to be genuine and transparent in your interactions. For example, if you are in a business partnership and you are facing difficulties with a project, the best course of action is to communicate your concerns openly and honestly rather than hiding behind vague statements or silence. If you hold back information or fail to express your thoughts clearly, it can lead to misunderstandings and distrust. By being upfront about your concerns and offering possible solutions, you create an atmosphere of transparency and collaboration. In this way, authenticity in communication strengthens the foundation of the relationship by preventing misunderstandings and fostering a sense of mutual respect. Another powerful tool in building relationships is the use of positive reinforcement. People are naturally drawn to those who uplift and encourage them. Offering positive reinforcement, whether through verbal praise, acknowledgement, or simple gestures of appreciation, helps solidify trust and rapport. When you acknowledge the efforts, contributions, and strengths of others, you not only make them feel valued, but also reinforce the idea that you are someone they can rely on and trust. For instance, in a work setting, a leader who frequently praises their team for their hard work and dedication will build a strong bond with those team members. This can be as simple as saying, "I really appreciate the effort you put into this project. It's clear that you've worked hard and your contribution has made a difference." Positive reinforcement like this not only boosts morale, but also strengthens the relationship between the leader and the team. It cultivates an environment where people feel encouraged to continue performing at their best because they feel supported and appreciated. Nonverbal communication is another vital element of building relationships. Body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice can convey emotions and attitudes even more powerfully than words. People are highly sensitive to nonverbal cues, and these cues often speak louder than the actual content of what is being said. A smile, a firm handshake, or leaning in during a conversation all signal attentiveness and openness. Conversely, crossing arms, avoiding eye contact, or speaking in a monotone voice can create barriers in communication and distance in relationships. Consider a scenario where a manager is having a one-on-one meeting with an employee. If the manager is making eye contact, using open gestures, and leaning slightly forward to show interest, the employee will feel that the conversation is meaningful and that their thoughts are being taken seriously. On the other hand, if the manager is looking at their phone, slouching, or crossing their arms, the employee may feel dismissed or unimportant regardless of what is being said. Nonverbal cues are often the first indicators of how engaged and invested someone is in a conversation, and they play a significant role in shaping the quality of relationships. Another key to building lasting relationships through communication is asking thoughtful questions. Questions demonstrate interest in the other person's thoughts, experiences, and feelings. They invite further dialogue and allow you to deepen your understanding of the other person. By asking questions that show genuine curiosity, you create an atmosphere where the other person feels heard and valued. This is particularly important in professional settings where it's easy for people to feel like just another cog in the machine. When leaders or colleagues take the time to ask insightful questions, it shows that they care about the individual beyond just their job performance. For example, in a business meeting, instead of merely asking, "Do you agree with this idea?" a more thoughtful question might be, What challenges do you foresee in implementing this idea? The latter question encourages the person to think critically and engage more deeply in the conversation. It signals that their opinion matters and that you are open to hearing their perspective. By asking thoughtful questions, you invite others to participate actively in the relationship building process, fostering a deeper connection and mutual respect. Conflict resolution is another critical aspect of building relationships through communication. Disagreements and misunderstandings are inevitable in any relationship, but it is how you handle conflict that determines whether the relationship will grow stronger or deteriorate. Open, respectful communication is key to resolving conflicts in a way that strengthens the bond between people. Instead of avoiding difficult conversations or allowing resentment to fester, address issues directly and with empathy. Focus on finding solutions rather than assigning blame, and always prioritize maintaining the relationship. For instance, in a workplace setting, if two colleagues have a disagreement about how a project should be handled, rather than letting the conflict grow, they should have an open discussion about their differing views. By acknowledging each other's perspectives and working together to find a compromise, they can turn the conflict into an opportunity for growth and collaboration. This kind of communication not only resolves the immediate issue, but also strengthens the relationship by demonstrating mutual respect and a commitment to finding common ground. Building relationships through communication is a continuous process that requires patience, effort, and a genuine desire to connect with others. By practicing active listening, showing empathy, being authentic, offering positive reinforcement, paying attention to nonverbal cues, asking thoughtful questions, and resolving conflicts constructively, you can build relationships that are not only strong but also enduring. Through effective communication, you create bonds that are based on trust, respect, and understanding, foundations that are essential for long-lasting personal and professional connections.